got a jam-packed video, guys. Jam-packed video today. Today, we will be talking about the college football rankings from last night, making our predictions on the championship games, and going through each and every college football playoff scenario. I hope you can keep up. I hope this video is fun. Let's get some likes, and let's get going. All right. So, the rankings came out yesterday. Alabama is number 1, Clemson's 2, Notre Dame's 3. No surprise there. Another thing that I think wasn't a surprise for many people was Georgia 4, Oklahoma 5, Ohio State 6. And what did surprise me, and I was a little pissed in the thing, was that Michigan was ahead of UCF, and I don't like that. At 2 losses, you don't really have a good win yet for Michigan. How can they be ahead of Ohio State, ahead of UCF? I don't get that. So UCF might not have a chance anymore with Michigan being ahead of them, but there is still a chance. And I don't know. I think the committee got it right 1 through 6. I think UCF should be 7 and Michigan 8, but that's beyond the point. But let's keep going. Championship picks. We'll start with the Pac-12 since that one's probably has the least importance. It's Washington and Utah. I think Washington has better players on their team. I mean, I don't really think Utah will beat them. I really think Washington's the better team. Give me Washington to win the Pac-12. Now, Washington, I think, moved up to 10 in the rankings. After UCF at 8, it was Florida 9, LSU 10, Washington 11, or something like that. Washington does have a chance to make the playoff. And we'll talk about that later, but I don't think they'll get it. Moving on. We have the AAC Championship, which is where UCF's playing Memphis. And if UCF needs to get into the playoff, they are going to have to win this game. They should be able to. I mean, even with Mackenzie Milton out, they still should be able to get it done. I know Memphis only beat them by 1, but that was a tough road game. I think UCF will get it together. Now, the 3 big ones. Starting with the Big 12 Championship at noon Eastern Time on Saturday. It's a rematch of the Red River rivalry, and it is Texas and Oklahoma. Who do I have? This is tough. This is very tough. Because these guys played one of the top 10 games of the year in my eyes. In the Red River rivalry earlier this year, a game Texas won, and that's Oklahoma's only loss. But what I've known from past decisions is that usually if you beat a team in the regular season and you match up against that team in the conference championship, things tend to even out. We could take for example last year in the SEC championship when Auburn killed Georgia at home, and it was Auburn versus Georgia in the SEC championship, and Georgia drawed even and ended up making the playoff over Auburn. Can we see that happening with Oklahoma and Texas? Yes. Because Kyler Murray has been playing on another level. Texas doesn't have that much momentum, whereas I think Oklahoma has not lost a game since that Texas loss. They're coming in with so much momentum. So I think Oklahoma will win that game. Next one, we'll go with the SEC Championship. Georgia and Alabama. Now, I do think Alabama will have their closest game this game. I think that Georgia will definitely not get blown out. But we will see. I do think that Alabama does have the advantage. But Georgia, what they're going to have to do. This is what Georgia's going to have to do. First step, win, toss, defer. You have to win the toss and defer. Then, you need to get a lucky stop or a turnover or a mistake by Alabama in the first half, and you need to get out of that half with a lead. Objective 1, win, toss, and defer. Objective 2, get out of the first half with a lead. And then you go into the second half with the ball and you got to score on that drive. If they can maybe put a 2-score lead up on Alabama, maybe get some pressure going, they might have a chance. The problem is doing just that. Can they do that? I'm going to say no. I don't know. I just don't think they can. I do think Georgia will hold it close. I think it will be a one-score game. Alabama wins 21-17. I don't see anybody stopping the Crimson Tide. If there is a team that's going to stop them, it will probably be Georgia, but we don't know. Now, the last one, I think it is. Oh, two more. We'll do the ACC. Clemson is favored over Pitt by, I think, 26. Clemson will most likely cover. Pitt's not even going to hold it close. Clemson is going to have a field day with that. They're definitely going to win. Now, here's a big one. Number 6, Ohio State, and number 21, Northwestern. That'll be a good one. Because I've seen Northwestern play when I saw them play Michigan State on the road in East Lansing, and they looked good. Clayton Thorson has a good intermediate passing game, and he can throw the deep ball when they need to. And Northwestern is a very underrated defense. I know they held Iowa to only, I think, like 10 points. So they actually have a very good defensive unit. And I think they could be able to stop Dwayne Haskins. Will it be easy? Definitely not. But I definitely think Northwestern has a chance. But, I mean, Ohio State's coming off steamrolling train of momentum after killing their rivals up north 62-39 with the best defense in college football. Yeah, I'm still waiting on that best defense, Michigan. So, they're coming off with steaming momentum. However, before that, Ohio State had that thing where Maryland almost beat them, and that thing where Nebraska almost beat them, and they had that thing where Purdue did beat them. I think Northwestern is a better team than Purdue. I think Northwestern is a better team than Maryland. I think Northwestern is a better team than Nebraska. Is Northwestern better than Michigan? No. But I think Ohio State is going to be just on the cusp of overlooking them, and I think this is what could happen. They're going to be like, Northwestern's not that good. We're not going to play our absolute hardest, which is what happened against Northwestern, or what happened against Nebraska and Maryland. They're going to be like, and Northwestern is a better team than Maryland. They could stun them. But I don't see it happening. I think Ohio State will end up winning this game, but I don't think it's easy. I think Northwestern covers. I think it's a hard-fought game at Lucas Oil Stadium, but I'm going to take the Buckeyes. And I think that's it. Now, what I've been waiting to do is preview each and every college football playoff scenario. Damn it. I almost got the last one. Every college football playoff scenario. There we go. Now, first what we'll do is we'll take each of the championship games and say let's say every single game I picked gets right. Okay. Alabama wins, they're in. Clemson wins, they're in. Notre Dame is pretty much already solidified a spot. I said Oklahoma and Ohio State would both win. Should Oklahoma and Ohio State both win, they would have to go to the resumes and see who's better. Now, I think Oklahoma has a better resume because, who's Ohio State beating? TCU, okay. TCU went 6-6 and really fell off after that game. So, I don't know. Oklahoma has a good win against West Virginia, but that's kind of their only good win. They lost to Texas. I think Oklahoma will get more credit from beating Texas than Ohio State will get from beating Northwestern. That's just what I think. But let's say this happens. Let's say Oklahoma barely scrapes by Texas. Let's say they win by 3. And let's say Ohio State comes out and they completely embarrass Northwestern. Like, they run them off the field. It's like 30-10 or something like that. Let's say they just completely run them off the table. then you will have a possibility where you're like, does Ohio State have the better resume? We don't know, but it would be hard to say. I think if both of these teams win, no matter what happens, Oklahoma should get in. Because I think Ohio State doesn't have okay, Michigan's a good win, obviously, but Michigan's really overrated. And I think the committee might look at that as a bigger win than it is. Whereas I think Oklahoma going on the road to play West Virginia and a Heisman candidate, Will Grier, I think that's more valuable of a win than coming into your own stadium when you were already favored to win and blowing out a very overrated team. I think Oklahoma has a better resume. So should Oklahoma and Ohio State both win, I think that they'll get in. There is a possibility that if Georgia loses, they'll get ahead of them, but that's not going to happen. Now, let's say Ohio State beats Northwestern, but Oklahoma were to lose to Texas. That would mean Ohio State would most likely jump them, and they'd get in. Same thing if Ohio State ends up losing to Northwestern and Oklahoma beats Texas, they would definitely get in there. Now, here is what I really want to talk about. Here's where the chaos ensues. Let's say Oklahoma, they take care of Texas. Let's say Ohio State, they come out and they take care of Northwestern. But what if in Atlanta, the Dogs take care of the Crimson Tide and they beat them? You would have Alabama with one loss, Georgia with one, Georgia would get in because they would have the SEC championship. You would have Alabama with one loss, Oklahoma with one loss, and Ohio State with one loss. With one spot left, because if that were to happen, most likely Clemson would be 1. I'd take Georgia at 2, Notre Dame at 3. Who are you taking at 4? A lot of the college football playoff committee, or not committee, the ESPN analysts said they would still take Alabama because, they've been so dominant this entire season. And I think even with how dominant they've been, you still would have to take them over Oklahoma and Ohio State. And I'm telling you right now, if that happens, bull. If Alabama gets in and they lose the SEC championship, I call bull. Because think about it this way. You have 3 teams that are 11-1. 2 of them have conference championships. 1 doesn't, and you're going to take the one that doesn't have a conference championship. I call bull. Because, in my opinion, if you don't win your conference, you don't deserve to be in the playoff if you don't win your conference. That's why I think Notre Dame should join a conference, probably the ACC, because that's where they play for basketball. We can have a Notre Dame Clemson ACC championship. But Notre Dame will just be independent and play cupcakes all year. That's not going to change. But if I had to go between a 1-loss Oklahoma, a 1-loss Alabama, and a 1-loss Ohio State, I'm taking Oklahoma. Because think about it, they would have had a very good quality win over Texas. They would have a very good quality win at West Virginia. And I think you would have to take them over Ohio State. I really do. And I think if you don't win your conference, you don't belong in the playoff. If you're not the best in your conference, you're not a top 4 team. So, that's just my opinion. Now, here's where the real chaos would ensue, and I don't think this will happen, but it would be crazy if it did. Let's say Georgia beats Alabama. Okay. Let's say, here's how I think UCF could get in, or maybe even Michigan. Let's say Ohio State loses. Let's say Oklahoma loses. Let's say Alabama loses. And let's say Clemson loses. What if number 1, number 2, number 5, and number 6 all go down? Could we have a chance where UCF gets in? So UCF's sitting at 8. And if they would definitely jump over Oklahoma and Ohio State. And we could assume that maybe Notre Dame would be 1, Georgia would be 2. Then you would probably put Alabama at 3. And then who would you take at 4? Would you take a 2-loss Michigan, a 2-loss Ohio State, a 2-loss Oklahoma, or a 12-0 UCF? Or a 1-loss Clemson? It would probably come down to a 1-loss Clemson or an undefeated UCF, in which that case they'd probably play Clemson. So that would mean you could have number 1 Notre Dame, number 2 Georgia, number 3 Alabama, and number 4 Clemson. That'd be crazy, but what I think will end up happening: Oklahoma wins, Ohio State wins, Alabama wins, Clemson wins. I think Alabama's 1, Alabama is 1, Clemson is 2, Notre Dame is 3, and I think Oklahoma will be 4. I think Oklahoma's gonna get a good win against Texas, and I think they will win. So it'll be Oklahoma versus Alabama in the Sugar Bowl, which the last time these two teams played the Sugar Bowl, Oklahoma blew them out. And then it would be Notre Dame and Clemson, which would be good games. And I would have to say I'd probably pick Alabama and Clemson. We could have another championship rematch, which both of the times these two have played, they've been really good. But let me leave your predictions in the comments below. I will be looking at them and probably replying to some. If you have an argument, I will accept arguments for sports, because that's one of my things I love to do, is argue about sports. Hope you guys have an amazing day. I'll see you next time.